MN SNAP was born out of my frustration and sadness for having to participate in killing animals as part of my profession. There was a serious need for compassionate veterinarians in another area, and that was pet overpopulation. So I started working for a shelter, and I knew it was going to be rough going, but I had no idea to what degree homeless animals would come into the door every day. In peak summer months, we would have upwards of 70 to 100 animals surrendered to one facility every single day. I can't say there's one worst day or one worst case. They all form a conglomeration of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can tell you one story that I think about often. The shelter was full, and there's one ward which was basically a nursery with pregnant cats, cats with litters of kittens. And we were out of foster homes, and I know that we all know that when kittens and cats sit in shelters, they're going to get sick. And that's going to cause them to be put down. So we had a ward full of mom cats with kittens varying from about 4 to 5 or 6 weeks old. And I received the direction from my boss to put the kittens down because they weren't going to go anywhere. And so a technician and I would go into the ward, we would load up a litter in a laundry basket, bring it to a room, and put them to sleep one by one. And I think we put down 30 kittens that day. Just because there are not enough homes. These shelters fill up, you can keep building more, they'll fill up, you build another one, it will fill up. And we can't criticize shelters that are trying to help because they will never catch up. They will never have enough resources to find homes for all these animals. And it's impossible. It's impossible to find homes for them all. So by spaying and neutering, we're preventing endless litters of kittens and puppies going into shelters, displacing homes from the animals that are already there. Or spaying and neutering cats and dogs so that they don't have litters. People do find homes for them. Again, it displaces homes for the ones that are waiting in a cage for weeks or months or years even for one person to come by to choose him. He doesn't get chosen. Oftentimes they don't get chosen and they die. So we're such a disposable society, and this is our way of trying to give the value to these animals that they so deserve.
That this is a huge, huge problem. The #1 killer of dogs and cats in this country is not renal failure, which is kidney disease, it's not heart disease, it's not parasites, it's not dental disease, it's being euthanized at a shelter. That's the #1 killer of animals in this country, and I find that unacceptable. And by working at a shelter, I just can't believe that we can allow this to happen. And I think it's because people don't know. People don't know that 50% of all pets in Minnesota rarely see a vet. People don't know that shelters are euthanizing animals every single day. But when you're told we need to euthanize these animals that we might be able to find homes for, but we can't right now, we don't have enough cages, we don't have enough staff, we don't have enough foster, there's always some reason why we can't at that time. When you have to do that, it changes you inside. And for me, it made me angry and it made me want to change things. I couldn't change things at the shelter, so then we try and change things outside of the shelter in the real world. We've seen the 20 barrels filled with dead animals. Well, they have a walk-in cooler that's as big as this room filled with barrels of dead animals. And it just gets to a point of like, this is stupid. When you get what you want,
What made me decide to become a vet, actually, ironically, is that it was just every single day we'd have more animals than we had room for, and we kept having to euthanize animals. But I remember several days where we'd come in and there would be 10 or 15, black lab puppies, little 3-month-old puppies, and we'd get 10 or 15 more, and we'd have to decide which ones were going to get put to sleep, and it would be completely random. Well, let's have half females, half males, or this one, looks a little shy, or this one's got a little bit more interesting shaped head. I mean, it was just so completely random, and the bottom line is there isn't a good, simple, quick, easy solution for the population problem that we have in our companion animals. So putting the sick ones or the unwanted ones to sleep and trying to find homes for the ones that seem to be more likely to find good homes, seem to be easier to place, I guess it just kind of became the reality.
A new study just came out from the AVMA to show that over 45% of cats that are owned never see a vet. And I think that's amazing, and it worries me because that means there's a lot of people that aren't getting their cats spayed and neutered. And we wanted to focus in on what are the trouble spots, like who are the people that aren't spaying and neutering the pets. So we did some research and found that people that make less than $35,000 are the most likely to relinquish pets to shelters and the least likely to get their pets spayed and neutered. So these are some of the reasons that Kim has assigned certain qualifications for the services. In other words, we're not just about doing low-cost spay neuter for everyone, because we want people that can afford it to pay for it. This is really targeting people that can't afford care at all. And if they don't get their pets spayed and neutered, they're the ones that are going to have the litters. They're going to grow up and die of horrible diseases because they can't afford, vaccines or dewormings and things like that. And then those litters are going to have puppies and kittens and so on and so on and so on. It just adds to the problem of overpopulation.
So if we feel that that is the person that we can have an impact on just by talking to, we'll talk about, well, there are risks for dogs and cats having litters. There are risks that your pet could die during delivery. There are risks that the kittens or the puppies could be born dead or die shortly after birth. There are risks for your pets being intact, infections and cancers. And usually we can turn them around with a short conversation. Others we will give a card to and say, call us when you're ready. So we've learned over time who we can reason with and who we can't. And it's exasperating for us and sad when people walk away. But that doesn't mean we haven't spayed and neutered 35 other animals that day. So we don't give up and we don't feel defeated because we've lost one client, because we've gained a lot of others, over 20,000.
There was many reasons, but one of the reasons that we saw plenty of was that they couldn't afford to have, the adult female sterilized, and so they would just continue to have litter after litter after litter and bring them to the shelter. And she said, "This is crazy. We have to do something. Someone's got to get that animal spayed." There's two people walking along a river, and they see infants, babies, in the river, and they're floating downstream towards certain death. And they say, "Oh my gosh, we have to do something to save these babies," and they start going in and pulling them out one at a time. And so this is what shelters are doing. These animals are coming in droves, and they're taking them and finding new homes and taking them and finding new homes. But inevitably, there's more and more and more coming, and they can't keep up. And as many as they pulled out, there's some that slipped past, and of course that's heart-wrenching to see and heart-wrenching to feel. And that's where the shelters are. They can't find homes for them all, so they end up euthanizing them. And so the story goes that one person stops and says, "Okay, hang on a second, I'm not going to do this anymore," and runs upstream. And the person left behind says, "What are you doing? You can't stop. We need to keep doing this." And the first person says, "I'm going to go upstream and find out who's putting these babies in the stream and stop them." And that's what we're doing within MN SNAP is instead of trying to get the ones that are coming into the system and finding homes for them, we're trying to go to the source and stop them from being born, essentially.
But the problem is we have too many animals and not enough homes, and we need to educate people that animals don't need to have a litter to feel whole or healthy. That's an old wives' tale, and that if we can spay a female, either cat or dog, before they have their first heat, we can reduce mammary cancer almost to zero.
One of the groups, in particular the feline rescue group in St. Paul, the director there has specifically said, we've seen way fewer kittens this year, and she believes it's because of what we're doing. And so that's nice. That feels good to know that we're definitely making a difference.
We're here to help folks that can't afford it, and that's really important, because when you throw out your hand to someone and help them, they in turn will help someone else. And a lot of our folks that we have performed spay neuter tell their friends, and they tell friends, so we're moving in that respect too. But we can also see that we're affecting change in communities, and that's really important.
It's because I have such a huge respect and compassion that I don't want to see animals homeless, dumped on a shelter, and be put down simply because there aren't enough homes. So I respond to that by spaying and neutering.
And so having resources that people can afford is really important, because the only way any of this is going to change is if we educate people that they should be responsible. Here's how you pick a puppy, here's how you pick a kitten, here's what they need, here are the vaccines they need, here's the dewormings they need, here's the behavior modifications they need to do, this is how you keep them healthy, this is the right food to buy. All of that is really important.
What if you had 100 dogs? What would you do?
I'll keep them all. I'll keep some of them. I'll keep 2 dogs. I'll keep 5, and I'll give the rest away. I keep like 2 of them, and then I'll give them away too.
What of the ones that you can't give away? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna take them to the shelter. Yeah, I'm gonna take some. I'm gonna take some to the dog vest. So the shelter.
What happens to the dogs at the shelter?
And they feed them, wash them, and let them play. So if you can't get the dogs away, you take them to the shelter, and they clean up the dogs, and they put them up, and they put them up in cages. So because people come and pick them out, they grab them and pay for the dog. They're gone forever? They're gone for like a long time. So they're dead?
It in a nutshell. I mean, we're trying to get to those people that can't afford it otherwise, so that they can have their pets sterilized. They don't need to have litters. There's plenty of animals out there that need homes. And yeah, I would just say, get them fixed.
But a lot of times too, I just step back at the end of the day and look at all of the animals we've done, and I know that these animals aren't going to make more animals. And that means a lot to me, that I'm actually out there doing it. And sometimes it's almost like a dream state when you think of all the stuff we've seen and witnessed at the shelter. It feels like we've been in a war zone, and then like joining the UN and making peace in the world. That's kind of what it feels like, you know, to be a part of MN SNAP. I want to thank everybody for all their support and help. MN SNAP could not exist with just our staff from Blue Sky Vet Services. We have so many volunteers and people that donate money. All of those things, we really feel that every day when we're out on the road. And we work really super hard, and we really appreciate everybody's support. And I just want to say thank you to everybody, and keep working hard for us, because there's so much more we can do, and I just really appreciate all your help.